I don't know, one of the board members had a question on,
I just asked what the difference was.
What the difference was in the bids. I understand the difference with Carrier, that's very expensive.
Yes.
But the other two, no particular difference as far as what they're offering?
We have a $10,000, a 6,800, and a 6,200. Those are our three bids.
I understand.
The high one is obviously a Carrier. The other one is Rude. Anybody familiar with Rude?
Yes.
It's a good unit. It'll serve its purpose. It's like Cadillac, Nissan. Basically, that's it.
Could've
Phil,
said Cadillac,
Phil,
Chevrolet.
did you, oh, I'm sorry.
You drive a Nissan?
I was
Yeah.
just-
She wanted to know the difference between the $6,900 one and the $6,200. Same unit?
Are they,
Same unit.
but are they offering different things with it? That's
No.
Okay.
Everything is the same. Being that that Carrier unit, the reason that one's so expensive is because the people that gave me the bid for that are actually a Carrier dealer, so they have all the parts, they have everything, but they are out of San Antonio. So if we have a breakdown, they gotta come 2.5 hours down to fix it. These other two people are out of Del Rio, one out of Del Rio and one out of Uvalde.
But Rude's a good unit.
Rude's a good unit, and they have all both companies that gave the bids on it, they have in-house parts, and we've used both companies before for certain things, and when you call, they're here within the time it takes to get from one place to the next.
Is this turnkey?
Yes, 62, all of them are just turnkey. Installation, new handlers, new units, new copper, freon, ducting, sealing the ducting, everything. Turnkey out.
They're free on?
Sir?
They're not free on.
Whatever goes in it.
Okay.
You're smarter than me when it comes
Yeah,
to
they
that.
change.
But whatever goes in there, the R12, whatever it is that goes in there,
Yeah,
everything is, that's the price.
so the difference between the 6960 and the 6200 is basically like labor or
I don't know, just the dealer.
dealer?
Yeah, two different companies,
Okay.
but the same units are going in.
It's called profit.
That's
Yeah,
exactly what it is.
you know.
And they're 7-ton units, and we asked would it be beneficial for it to make it from a 2-unit to a single unit? He said it doesn't make any difference. So, that's the AC, guys.
Okay, so all the bids are comparative then.
Yeah, well, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Phil.
Motion to approve.
I move that we approve the lowest bid for the AC unit.
I would second that bid. I mean, I would second that motion.
any further discussion? Seeing none, call for a vote on approving the third bid for $6,200 for two Rude units installed, that's per proposal. All in favor? Motion carries, unanimous vote. Now, how about the optional 10-year parts labor warranty for $850 per system? The one thing on, I think, on the original guarantee that comes with it, if there's something goes wrong with the unit and they replace the compressor for free, I don't think they will replace the refrigerant. I think you have to pay for the refrigerant.
That's true. Once they suck the unit out of the refrigerant, if they do replace the compressor or anything out, once they suck the refrigerant out, you're gonna have to pay for it to go back in. I believe it's $14 a pound.
It's pretty expensive.
Is it a 5-year compressor, 5-year warranty?
Yes.
It's 5.5?
Yes.
Okay.
And then at the end of 5 years, if you don't have the extended protection, so to speak, they may be making 16 seer at that time. You'd just be fixing an old machine.
That's what's going on right now. They're 1983 units, so it doesn't make sense to put a new compressor into an old unit. It's just not gonna, it's not right.
I don't think we should do the 850.
I'm against it.
It's $850 per unit.
Yeah.
That's so, okay. So 1,700 then additional.
I call the question.
So we have no motion or anything that, we're just gonna,
No extended warranty.
right, we're not acting on the extended. I guess we'll vote on
You have to vote on that one, and then if you want to vote on the other one, that's fine.
Okay, I move that we do not purchase the extended
To
warranty.
finish the first motion.
Oh, I thought we did.
We did.
Did we vote on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'll second your motion. The women are making bookends here.
All in favor of the optional warranty? All opposed? The motion carries, no optional warranty. And our next item is having year-to-date budget, actual expenses, and previous year on the financial report as we had previously, and same to the membership.
Did we do that
Didn't
today?
we just leave that?
We did that, and I would assume that we're gonna continue doing that in the future, so. I guess we can move that one on. The next, the renting of the Seminole Theater, the renting of the theater for the Seminoles. The Seminoles are wanting to have in September, I guess, a presentation at the theater. Can Jody shed some light on that? I got a call from one of the Seminoles.
Have they applied, have the Seminoles requested a, sorry, oh. They shout, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what you're referencing, because what has happened 2 months ago, David, Box, and myself met with the, Tommy, what's Tommy's last name? Tommy Perriman, and so you kind of caught me off guard on this one, because I didn't know where it was coming from, because we've been working with Tommy for the past 2 months, and actually, it was David and myself that gave them the idea of doing something similar to Fort Clark Days, and having it here, because the Seminoles have been having their Seminole Days across the way for quite some time. So we met with Tommy Perriman and Gigi, and so I don't really know what the question is.
He called me and said that we were charging, he thought maybe a little bit high for the Post Theater, and I don't know what we're charging, I have no idea. I don't, that's what it was.
We've got something that tells us that.
He called me and asked if there was if we could talk it over and reduce the rate, but he wasn't real sure what the rate was, because Chief Warrior was the one that talked to it.
You want to elaborate? We'll talk to our event coordinator, who's been in constant contact with
Okay.
the committee.
Good morning, folks. David Box, event coordinator. I've been in constant contact with Mr. Perryman. He is considered the Seminoles their event coordinator for their events. What they're planning to do is have a Seminole long celebration, really concentrating on a weekend of events from our venues. And it was addressed to him that we would give them a member's rate, for the reason being, like, they have their history here and what have you, and of course, they're pretty much family of the fort, and they're a subsection of what the fort's all about. I did quote Mr. Perryman member rates, and to go into it a little further in detail, Service Club, we usually rent that out at $250 for a member as a non-member rate, or a community at large member. For the Seminoles, we've actually discounted that 20%, and that's going to bring that down to $200. And then we do require a deposit, which we do not discount, of $100. For your Post Theater, we have it listed at $350 for a rental fee. And I did quote Mr. Perryman, and I do have emails and correspondence with him, and we've had several conference calls. It's usually $350. You take 20% off of that, it's going to bring it down to $280. No discount on a deposit, that's $150. On your deposits, they are subject to being refunded to our clients, and that's due after a post-inspection of each venue. And I do have on record every event that we've had. I actually do a pre-inspection with our clients to notate any ill findings of a facility, so that individual or that organization will not be charged, or their deposit will not be forfeited. Upon completion of their event, after everything's said and done, The next business day that follows, I put myself out there in the field and I do a post inspection. I'm checking windows, door frames, air units, lighting, the whole 9 yards from A to Z, and I also photograph. So with my post inspection on my documentation, I do CC our director on that, and I also keep a record. For the reason being, that's my substantial evidence for whenever I go to request for a refund on their check. But what I've discussed with Mr. Perryman is we could probably come up with a package deal, but right now, as it stands, he's okay with just having us give him the member rate on the facilities. No contract has been established at this time, which we're looking forward to doing that here in the near future, because he looks like he'll be here like the beginning part of September before their event transpires. We did mention security also, because he did mention that there would be some alcohol consumption at the NCO club. One of my requirements for renting one of our venues, if you're gonna have alcohol present at your event, we do need in-house security. And people have offered to bring in their own security agent, and I totally refuse that. For the reason being, our security team, they're aware of the surroundings, they know the situation, they know some of the members here. Not only that, your security team is here to help enforce bylaws, rules and regulations, and statutes set forward by the membership, the board, and also like myself. Security is also furnished a copy of the contract so they know who to go to within that contract, and I believe the board maybe have a copy of those contracts. I have a short-term contract which consists of a pricing table and an information block that I need to capture from that person, and then on the opposing side it has a hold harmless agreement. That way the Ford's not held liable and also the client's not held liable in a limited sense of a fashion. On your extended contract, the last page on there, they mentioned Warren Blesh. He's not a representative of the Fort or collects in any ways or what have you. He's an independent agent. We do offer that for weddings and bigger venues holding anywhere between 100 to 300 individuals. For the reason being, we need to secure our historical sites. Hopefully we can generate enough revenue in this department to like get these places back up to par and back up to historical like monument. So I'm actually working real close with Tommy Perryman, and this individual actually does come in, I want to say every 2 or 3 months on his own expense. He doesn't have any help doing it. He travels all the way from LA. He's coming from the he's coming from the West Coast just to sit down and talk with myself. And we do talk with Jody, and we do pull in Gigi Goodlow. She's actually a local person here, but she is not to be confused as the Seminole representative. He is the Seminole representative. He is the point of contact. If anybody has any further questions for him, please like email me or stop in and let me know, and we can get correspondence to him, because he is the Seminole Indian coordinator, and he's working directly under Chief Warrior, just as myself. I am the event coordinator for Fort Clark Springs, and I work directly under our DO, Jody Stevens. So we're hoping to make this event a memorable one for them. And not only that, to bring the history alive to the fort, because they actually have a genuine interest in every member on this fort. So I believe that I've addressed all the issues, and I don't know, I can clear up with them, and I could probably address it in the next board of director meetings, but I can actually correspond with Mr. Perryman and see if there's any kind of conflict. And also to add on to this, and she's not here, but I know that they're actually blocking off maybe 15, 20 rooms from our motel, and they're actually using it as a host site. So
What he had called me about was he had talked to Chief Warrior, but he didn't have the number right there when he called me, and said that he wondered if we could lower the rate because he thought it was a little bit high for what they were doing, and I didn't know anything about it. I had no idea what rate he was charged, what rate we charged. So I don't know, we're charging him $480. But that's for the Post Theater and the Service Club, right?
that is correct, sir.
We applied the 20% discount, and this is another reason where I'm confused, because I said to Mr. Perryman 3 months ago when I presented that the fort should be their place of hosting Seminole Days, and gave them the idea of how community council approaches the board and writes down permission to use certain venues so long as they get their event insurance. at no cost. And that's where we left off, and I had a conversation with Mr. Perryman. So all of that, I guess, has fallen to the wayside. We did do a 20% discount as far as the venue rentals go, which we do for all nonprofits with 501c3s. So that's, again, we can't pick and choose. It has to be
No, I just
consistent.
was asking.
Correct.
Because he seemed a little bit confused about when he asked me, he just called me the other day. So I said, well, I'll ask about it, and now I know. Everybody knows. You had a comment, Ms. John?
I would just say to proceed with caution. On the one hand, because there is an organization, the Seminole Indian Scout Cemetery Association. They have a president, they have a board of directors. They are a Texas nonprofit, they are not a 501c3. Mr. Perryman is acting, and he's a friend of mine, but he's kind of acting unilaterally for that organization. On the other hand, this September is the 100th anniversary of the disbandment of the Scouts, the centennial of the detachment being disbanded. And it's an opportunity, certainly, for Fort Clark to not only make a resolution to recognize that achievement, that milestone, but to show some goodwill as far as use of facilities for 2 days. They're here, they're gone, with maybe some understanding that, you know, this is being done because it's your centennial. Food for thought.
Yeah, after hearing, you know, we're charging that, and then it's their first deal, I guess he told me they were wanting to have a presentation for kids down there or something. Was that any conversation about that?
Again, the interesting thing is I'm the one who suggested that they come to the board and ask for, A, have their 100th year here, celebration here, B, working with Gigi to get their 501c, two separate things, just, Mr. Hahn, you're correct, two separate things, which any of you who know me, the Seminole Indian Scouts hit home in my heart. So I wanted this to happen. We did an extensive tour that they had not seen before. And again, I want them to do this. I want to host them. And I did present to them how to come and ask the board for usage of the facility.
He must have.
It seems to me that David and Mr. Perryman, is that his name?
That is correct.
Working this out, so until we know how it's worked out, what's going to happen, what is projected, what they want to do, we need to stay out of it at this time. Let them figure it out, come up with the plan, and then present it to the board.
Which is what you just said.
Right, I had gone to the extended powers 3 months ago, to give them the exact detailed outline of how to ask the board for permission for having Seminole Days here to possibly do exactly the same thing that Fort Clark Days does, or 4 days. So I don't know, again, that was kind of a unilateral move. Thank you for the word, Mr. Hahn.
Thank you, Director Herman, for mentioning that. If I can elaborate on what Mr. Herman just said, it's exactly true. We're trying to work out fine details. This is the first time this will ever have transpired here at the fort. And we're not leaving anybody in the dark. He's communicating to his people. And I'm also communicating with the DO and also like people that are with our establishment. For instance, we're wanting to involve maintenance on like buggy rides in between like events. It's just gonna be like a weekend that they wanna do a buggy ride, give history tour of the fort. So these young ones know like where their lineage comes from. So as details get more thought out and more fine-tuned, as Mr. Herman mentioned, it will be brought to light and I will be glad to share that with you.
Go for it.
Time, so.
Go for it,
Yeah,
David.
I'll call him back and tell him he needs to continue the conversation
Talk
he's
to
having with you
David.
guys. Okay, our next item is
Thanks, David. Very good.
Thank you.
a resolution to rescind the Director of Operations for selling property without board approval. And that is in reference to that one letter that came available here a while back. If I can find it.
This isn't something that should be done in executive session? Discussed?
I guess we can if the board would like to.
I'm curious about lights.
I didn't know that it speaks to a resolution that there is no resolution that it speaks to. But I guess we can table it to discuss in an executive session today.
I can have Brianna go in more detail. This was signed, a year ago? In exec session with you present, but I'll have, if you're okay with it, I'll have Brianna explain more in detail what this is all about.
Once you pull up the resolution itself, the number and all that.
She made it.
It's not a resolution.
It's not a
It's a statement
resolution,
of
it's a
authority.
statement of authority, is what it is. It was never a resolution.
Well, it says then by resolution.
This is not the first time this has been done.
No.
Okay, in your board packet, behind the statement authority to transfer real property, there is a typed copy to kind of explain it. I don't sell, but I mean, I deal with the properties that are for sale by the fort and whatever we have for foreclosures. We haven't foreclosed on anything since 2011, because later in your agenda, we need to appoint a trustee. The only thing the director of operation can do is transfer, when you say sell, is just dealing with the lots that have memberships attached to it. It is not selling Dickman Hall. It is not setting up a whole new subdivision. But what this transfer of authorization was, we sold a foreclosed property and the title company was requiring a statement of authority to transfer real property. Instead of being charged $200 for document preparation from an attorney on each property we sell, this document will cover for the future transactions. There's limitations. There's never been limitations before. And I was working from a title company before. Checks and balance are important. I don't know, I think a lot of you were here when I think Deer Run happened. This will make it a little bit more cautious for anybody to go row over 25,000. It states that if you're the acting president or the director of operation, anything under 25,000, that means if we have a foreclosure, that she can sign the documents through the title company. It's a transfer. It's not, she can't do easements, she shouldn't even do specialty lots because that's requiring a new survey, and that has been done in the past. This is just things that already have a membership attached to it, a lot, a block. It's making it difficult because when I first started working here, people came in, you don't even know what property you have. By you taking away this, it's going to slow us down because 3 weeks ago I sold another foreclosed property. But if we didn't have this paper, then they were going to need a current corporate resolution. We didn't have a full board. So then I would have to tell my customer, we would look like we're not prepared, like we can't do everyday operations. So it is important with limitation, because anything over 25,000, you would have to have the president or DO and another board member. It's for y'all's protection. It's not being sneaky. And it's, like I said, there's limitations. You can't, what can you do? I mean, we can recover over 25,000, but it was hard to recover over Deer Run or anything like that. So I'm hoping I'm explaining, but we really are trying to be transparent. But it does state in our bylaws that they can do the sell, but it has to have a membership attached. Does everyone understand, like when the membership, it's not like Dickman Hall or the swimming pool. She can't sell that. I don't mind. I know this is a board meeting and but yes, sir.
I'm Dan Sullivan. I have 35 years experience in real estate, a number of positions, including being a broker and closer. Everything you say is very fine. However, we take some very careful analysis and examination of those documents to support what you say is completely accurate.
I had the title policy.
Please,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. It is also not uncommon at all for when a property is being sold by an entity, a corporation, an organization, that it requires board approval of that sale. It doesn't slow you down that much. You don't normally make a sale and close it up in 2 days or 1 day. You go through processes, the title checks and all that. And so it would not be a bit unusual to allow her to have those powers subject to the approval of the board of directors. And you never had a hold up of more than 30 days.
Okay, as you're correct with the real estate, some people don't want to go through title company, so they want to close with cash. What you're saying, when you're doing that, we would have to wait for another board member. When people want to go ahead and pay for it, and they want to take the risk of not having title insurance, that's the member's right. But by you doing that, you're slowing our production here.
So you won't be slowing them up any more than 30 days, and whether or not they get title insurance, or whether they pay with cash or a check, or with mortgage or loan, is immaterial. The point is usually when you go to buy a property from some organization, corporation, you're going to have to wait and get board approval before you finalize everything. And in this case, we have a board meeting every 30 days. The most you would be held up collecting your money is 30 days. That's it. And as far as not having a full board, you concluded a lot of other business without a full board. You could still get board approval even without a full board.
The title company was requesting either we have a form like this or they need a current corporate resolution. We didn't have a current corporate resolution because we didn't have a full board, so we would have lost a customer.
No, that's not true.
What is the current corporate resolution? What would that be?
It would state who is the president, who are all you 5 board members are, and you file it with the state. But lately, it's been kind of crazy. After Lee died, he was the acting president, but when the president died, it doesn't just automatically state that Bill can sign everything. With this form, we were able to continue business.
Perhaps it'd be helpful, Roby, if we actually read paragraph B so that everybody knows what we're talking about.
The association authorizes and appoints the acting president or the serving director of operations to act for the association in any lawful way with respect to a transfer of the association's interest in the property described above and held in the name of the association in accordance with its articles and bylaws of the association, up to the sale amount of $25,000. For sale of more than $25,000, at least 2 signatures are required, either the president, the director of operations, or an active member of the board of directors of the association.
I'm not really sure what we're objecting to here.
Well, this paper gives anybody, gives the DO or any board, or the board member,
President, you.
permission to sell any,
No, selling, transferring, okay, transferring interest.
To
Yes.
sign.
To sign.
It's just signing the documents for the title company on that particular thing. Or,
okay.
Right, the sale's already been made. Right now, we just need authorization to sign those
who will sign
documents.
it?
That's
But,
why I'm
but we didn't
asking.
know the board didn't know the sale had occurred.
What's the property described above?
Fort Clark. The association located at 23 McClernand Road, Bracketville, Texas, holds an ownership interest in real property located in the Fort Clark Springs subdivision adjacent to the city of Bracketville, Kenny County, Texas. So it's any property the Fort owns over here.
Well, that's a club grounds,
no.
or
so-
lots in subdivisions. No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not the club grounds.
And this might be very important, especially since there's new members. We have some foreclosures, and I would advise, when we get to have more foreclosures, that I can bring those records to you, and basically you would know how much we're planning to sell these for. So when we have an active buyer, then we're already on board with what is our top bid, what is our low bid, and if we have to go any further, I have not a problem bringing it back to the board and saying, they're negotiating this. Now, on 27, we already kind of, and I don't mind to show you the map, what we've kind of already allotted for how much we're able to sell these for. So I don't mind giving you a heads up of what we're trying to sell the property for. And basically, after we're in agreement with the amount, she would just be, or it would be you, would have to be available to be able to sign the closing to make the deal done. But I'm complete, I think you guys should know what properties we have and how much we're trying to get for them, and then we can negotiate. So you know what, that thing's not gonna be worth that, let's see if we can get this, so that way we can get our active membership going again.
Okay, well, in the worst case scenario, say you had 15 lots in Unit 27. I don't know where that is or how big the
It's around
lots
the golf
are.
course.
But say they were worth 100,000
They're actually worth 3,500.
Well, but say there was 5 houses on each one of them, or 1 house on each one of them, and the Ford had repossessed them.
Well, then that would be a foreclosure. And so afterwards, after you point this, you're gonna know how much money we have in there. As the board of directors, you'll get to have that information. And then as the board, you can say, okay, Rihanna, this is what we're going to, our top sell, this is what we all come agreement to what we think we can sell it
No,
for.
but
This is,
this document would give either the director or the president permission to sell 5 lots.
No, just,
no,
no,
it's just to follow the it's to sign the papers, to sign the deeds, or to sign the, whatever the title companies.
Then why doesn't it say that?
Well, where do we have a cap on how much the properties are sold for? Because if you come to the Ford and say, okay, I'll give you $5,000 for these 15 lots, and they're actually worth $35,000.
So you don't take
Ruby,
it?
that's the thing. A
we
lot of
don't
people
see it
don't.
all.
No, but
Only-
they do, they come in.
She's offering to show it.
Yes, I'm completely offered to show you that. And before we start foreclosing, I need to know how much you guys, if you want us to actually put a lien on it, because sometimes when we put as much as our assessments have gone up there, we're not gonna ever sell it.
Right.
So it's important that we do
Well,
communicate.
on our real estate transactions, it shows that we've sold $11,000 worth of property, or we've got $11,000 worth of income. I don't know where, other than sale of property, where would that come from?
Again, we need to get together, because there's probably about 6 foreclosures that I can sell now. So I think I need to show you the picture so that way you're on board with what inventory we have now, because we're gonna get ready to get more.
Well, it's not just me, it's the board and the membership needs to know what we have for sale. I mean, the membership doesn't get asked what we're gonna
Okay,
sell it for.
but that means you're gonna tell someone how delinquent they are. It's not necessarily a public record for everyone, because when we foreclose, that's all the dues that were owed. And you may not want someone to know how, once we foreclose someone, how past due they are.
this Ford,
Selling property and foreclosing are 2 different ends of the spectrum.
No, but once we get it, we have to sell it. We have property that was foreclosed that no one bought, because the dues were so high that we're gonna, as a board, it needs to make a decision about how much you can sell it for. These have been since 2011. You weren't on there yet, so what I'm saying is I don't mind bringing all the foreclosed to the board, and we can look at all the property that we have right now, and we can come up with a term. But I don't think it's wise to throw everyone under the bus and let people know how bad, first of all, we let the association let something go, or how bad someone didn't pay. That's not good. Because the name stays on the
You're talking about 2
name.
different things somehow. I'm confused. You know, you're talking about something and you understand it, and I'm asking questions about something else that evidently you don't understand what I'm asking.
Okay.
I can't convey the opinion. But repossessing it and foreclosing on it and getting it back is one process.
Okay,
Now we're gonna sell it. This is for sale of property here, right?
yes.
And she's offering to bring it to us to show us what it is.
Before you rescind anything, if you don't mind, let me bring everything that you
That's-
need.
Right, I
But it
don't
will
mind.
probably need to be just the board and not the whole membership, because there's a lot of names and
Come
stuff.
down a minute. I use that as a, I don't know what you call that, example, probably a poor one, it was exaggerated. I don't necessarily want to, I want to understand it before I rescind it. I don't know what I'm rescinding now, and I don't know what I'm passing now.
Okay,
So,
I'll bring,
I don't-
that
table it
particular.
would be
I
fine.
want to make a motion. I make a motion that we table this until we have more information, and even that Brianna can show us what she's been doing.
Second.
Thank you, Marina.
Any discussion?
Could this information be transmitted to the directors by email, rather than you bringing a ton of papers into the email?
Speak into the mic, please.
You speak into the mic.
That's gonna be up to the board.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if this could be done, this thing on,
Yes.
by email, instead of waiting till another meeting, if you need to get something done for the next meeting.
Oh, right, well, right,
I think she's talking about showing us what she's already done,
When,
plus, well, before she.
Whenever we want, I guess.
Yes.
I mean, there's not a whole lot of people lining up for some of our foreclosed properties, so we can put
Surely
this
not.
in, we can put this in next exact, and I can, because this is going on forever, so maybe next exact, I can bring them
Well, we
over.
might have a 3 days from now, have a
Oh.
session or do something, I don't know, sometime.
You might need another member service person.
Any more discussion?
No, let's move this on.
Move on.
Move to a vote?
What's the motion?
Table. Table?
Table it for more information and Brianna has a chance.
Motion carries unanimously.
Until this is, well,
Our next item is spending monies from the budget. And this was where we had approved budget items before, but then I wanted the board of directors to approve the actual expense of the money before it was, if we put something down, we were gonna buy a new car. We budgeted for that money. But then prior to actually buying the new car, I would think the board of directors should know that we're gonna buy a new car and approve the money to do it, you know. See the contract, see the whole deal and say, yes, that's what we're gonna do.
Except that we've already discussed it and it's in the budget because we already approved it to be in the budget. It was just a matter of what time you spend it.
And our
So
budget now,
you're asking the board to approve the same item twice, and that's a waste of time.
I'm asking you to approve them line item as we go along because our budget is upside down. And we may need to change it as throughout the period of the year.
I kind of agree with the president that although we may have had a budget that allowed $10,000, $12,000, $20,000 for an automobile or a truck, we approved the whole budget, and I don't think we went through it line by line and discussed everything.
Ah, but we did.
I have a copy of it.
Well, did we budget a truck or a car, or what did we?
Is it broken down in security when I gave you that brown folder that went line item by line item, the things that they needed? And it specifically said security car, and it was from this amount to this amount, that I'm gonna work on getting the cheapest amount. You go to maintenance line item on their file, that file folder. It also broke down that they wanted a compactor, a Bobcat, skid loader, I forget the other 3 items on there. So we got the most pressing. And I reported back that we got the skid loader for $5,000 under budget, we got the car, the Toyota car, $4,000 under budget, and you were apprised of that, and then I stopped spending anything because we don't have the revenue to substantiate the rest of the wish list, and it states that on that budget folder that I gave you guys, wish list, and that we would be buying as it could be appropriated.
Okay.
Okay. And then you're 3 months away from a new budget, so I don't know, no more big items are gonna be bought because I don't have the money, period.
We have a motion to approve spending monies from the budget.
I don't know what you mean. I mean, seriously, I'm not feigning.
Well, it dies for lack of a motion. We'll move to the appointment of architectural committee. We had one other person apply for architectural committee. I can't find it now, but it's here somewhere. Mr. Roland Boyson. Does the board want to approve members of the architectural committee? Because now we approve them to continue until this board meeting.
I make a motion that we approve Glenn White, Phyllis Giblin, and Aileen Reed as members of the Architect Committee for another term.
I will second that motion.
Any discussion?
I don't know who, I'm sorry, I don't know who Roland Boyson is, I'm sorry. You should know.
Well,
Just curious.
I understand, but the term of office for an Architect Committee member
Not arguing that.
is a
Just-
year with the ability to rerun.
I totally understand that. I'm just asking in case he can't, somebody dies and we want to replace him. Just curious who this man is. Thank you. Do we have information?
Mr. Boyd lives right here on the end. Mr. Boyson lives over here on the end,
He
right?
isn't here today.
No, ma'am.
Okay, that was just a question. Sorry, I don't know him, I should.
Any other discussion?
Did he have any experience in this?
No, sir, I think he was a little confused of what he was signing up for that day.
I know who he is, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think I'll
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
vote for the motion.
If there's no further discussion, we call for a vote. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Would you repeat the motion?
To appoint members for the Architectural Committee, and the motion was made to appoint Glenn White, Phyllis Giblin, and Eileen Reed. And that motion carried with unanimous consent. Next item is the Preservation Committee, the Historic Preservation Committee. I assume that's who that is?
The Preservation Committee, the building restoration.
Right.
Yes.
That's the, those are the names for the Historic Preservation
I
Committee.
understand, but who is submitting the request for the names and so forth?
This was tabled from, what, 2 months ago?
Not arguing that
When-
either, I'm asking who's submitting this list.
Garland Young, who is the representative of the Preservation Committee.
Did this, the community council had people, did that include?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry again. Is this the number of persons required, or this is the number that are suggested, or what?
That's what, they're going back to the original
Okay.
documentation and the two appointees from, I think it was all in the packet.
The only one they don't have on there, it says on the next page, I think there, they have one board member, 2 Fort Clark Historical Society members, 3 community council members, and 1 Kinney County Historical County member, commission member, is what they,
Okay, adding a director to that list would make it 8 instead of 7.
Yeah, but I think, let me just throw this in with the architect committee. I go to the architect committee as a representative of the board, but non-voting. So I wonder if this should have the same where the
I think it should be
representative,
non-voting. I
the
agree.
representative of the board should
Yes.
be at the meetings, but non-voting.
I
So
agree.
they would-
What was that right there? It's-
Who's who? Who are the 2 Fort Clark Historical Society members on the list?
It's Debbie Isaacs.
No, Glenn White, the historical are Glenn White and Phil Coburn.
And the community council?
Phyllis Giblin and Debbie Isaac.
It says 3 representatives on
I
the
didn't say 3.
stuff you gave us. It says 1 FCSA board member, 2 representatives of the Fort Clark Historical Society, 3 representatives of Fort Clark Springs Community Council, and 1 member of the Kinney County Historical Commission.
Eileen Reed is from the Historical Commission. There's supposed to be 2 board members, 2 community council members, and 2 historical members, and 1 historical commission is what's supposed to be on there. Garland Young, when he was on for the board, he done an interest that he would like to still be involved in it, so we have allowed him to continue the meetings. As far as representing community council, anybody in Fort Clark, and I don't know if that's where this is coming from, I have no clue. But that's where if this shows community council or what.
How many years have you been on it, Debbie?
How many years have I been on it? I did not come on till about the 4th or 5th year. And then I've been on it pretty much as a board representative and then as a community council representative.
Could
You don't have
Garland,
a total number of years?
Garland, what'd you say?
he wasn't finished, I interrupted, I'm sorry.
Well,
He was a board representative while he
No,
was.
I'm not asking that, I'm asking, B to finish before I interrupted
yeah,
him.
well, it says here that further resolved that the term of a member of the committee be for 3 years, but not to exceed 6 years.
There has never been no term limits established for the committee. I really think there ought to be term limits for the committee, but that was my personal opinion.
You're saying it's-
Well, this is a draft resolution.
I don't know what you got.
We have a draft resolution to reestablish the FCSA Historic Building Restoration and Repairs Committee. And that's where we're getting this information. And that's where it says in here, and this is what apparently he gave to us. And that's where it lists the number of
Dated,
sources and
2008.
members. Yes. And at third paragraph, it says,
Okay, that's where the committee themselves was trying to put some structure to the committee.
yes,
That's
it.
what you've got there.
Yes.
Okay.
I think,
Could I now suggest that Garland Young be kept on as a non-voting member? I know he's very interested, but at the moment he represents no one. If he wants to stay involved, he can be a non-voting member.
I don't disagree with that because we need people who are actually interested in performing this function. And somebody who wants to show up at the meetings, actually participate in the projects. And so I think that we shouldn't out of hand dismiss people who actually want to be there.
I don't think that the board has to reestablish or even recognize it. I mean, if there's a group of people that want to get together and bring to the board interest on preserving the building, they're more than welcome to do that. We don't have to condone it or oppose it or do anything.
Isn't this to spend the money? I mean, this-
Well, the money, I think, is in, the fort is obligated to spend the money for historic preservation.
I thought this group was supposed to be the ones that help me.
They evidently have a little book there.
They have funds.
And they have their own funds or not, but I guess I thought the idea was they would use the funds, the $12 a year from the impound fund.
Correct.
Or that deal there, which the board of directors has to approve the use of, correct? So if anybody brings a project to the fort and produces reliable results that says, here's a project, I think we should paint a tree over there and preserve it. Well, if the board agrees to it, they say, go ahead and we'll pay for it. Debbie?
But the first thing we do with the funds is to keep the tax break on our buildings is first priority. And then it's by whatever, if we have funds, then it's by what needs to be done to bring them back up to match the rest of the fort. But our first priority is to keep our tax break down. And then we also go through the stuff and we have instigated a 3-bid thing, anything over $1,500, which never was in there. So now with anything over $1,500, we have requested at least 3 bids because we are now spending somebody else's money. And to be everything out there, we do that. And we have actually come up with a list of how we require our bids to be given out to us and broken up. And sometimes you got bids that just give a lump sum money and you didn't know, and actually putting this little thing together on some of the past stuff, you paid a check, but it didn't say how much was for labor, how much was for posting, a theater, because they were working on 2 or 3 different things. So you got a check in there for $2,500, and you knew not how much it was for if you didn't have the previous minutes of the association. So actually now we've got some structure. And the first thing we do is to keep our buildings, and then the safety issues with it, and then the cosmetic is how we look at what needs to be done with that money.
And that's what this resolution basically is all about. The only question I have, and I think what we need to solve, is numbers. Who from what group is involved in representing who? So,
The issue is simple. There's supposed to be 2 directors on the committee. There are no directors on the committee. The committee was set up by Resolution 9801, 2 board members, 2 people from the Historical Society. That structure was modified in 2008 to what Debbie just said. 2 directors, 2 Historical Society, 2 Community Council, 1 from the County Historical Commission. The committee has functioned since March of 2013 with no directors on the committee. That's the issue. There's no directors on the committee. The reason for directors on the committee was to make sure that Fort Clark's interests were considered, protected, everything else. So what you should be doing is deciding which 2 out of the 5 go on the committee.
Where is this? Where is this? You refer to this, but I don't know where it is.
well, the new resolution is saying 1 board member.
They're
The new
only,
resolution would have to rescind the previous 2 resolutions in order to do that.
The reason that
where
this
are those resolutions? That's my problem. I don't know where to look.
I can pull it for you.
Thank you.
I have them at home. I can email them to you. How's that?
I have them.
That's, they're here.
Well, then I move that we table this item until we get all this information together. We may have to send it back to the committee to revise their recommended resolution. And is it possible for us, Debbie, to get one of these for each of the board members?
You can tear that one apart and make copies, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, we could look at it, they're
Well,
probably
it's-
expensive to make, I mean,
It's,
for just.
well, enough, we're just taking it apart and making copies for
What
us.
I actually have done, I just acquired after Lee Winchell died, I was voted in as treasurer, and I have gone back since the creation of the committee and done financials. And they're all in that booklet.
And from what I understand, part of what this problem's coming up is that the original resolution ran out.
It ran out.
No,
That-
no, it did not.
In 20.
No.
According to what I've seen, I think it ran out.
The agreement with the Historical Society is what expired
Correct.
for the 5013C marriage there. That's what ran out.
All right, well, then I sustain my motion that we table this, get all the information together, send it back to the committee, get it done correctly. Because I haven't seen the previous, and I'd like the board each to have one of these, because it's put together well, and Monique, can you make copies of this? Because this particular document has the photos, the before and after photos, the before and after photos of the projects that they've done. It's got the financials from 2008 through 2014. It's got financials under specific treasurers at that time. It's got the copy of the new documents they're using for the bidding procedure. And it's got a nice little pie chart about the amounts spent on the various building projects. So I think the whole board needs to see this. And since I don't know if we have any active projects, I doubt that 30 days will.
We have 2 projects we're wanting to do, and we still have, did the French drain get done, Philip?
Yes.
Yes.
But we have not paid for that out of our funds yet. I think the Ford actually has paid for it, but we have not taken it out of the fund.
That's
I was on that committee for many years with Debbie.
Yes.
It appears to me that the strategy of the committee has been abandoned. 2 projects, which were you could put in the category of good initiative, bad judgment. Painting of the theater and the ramp at the service club, both buildings are recorded Texas Historic Landmarks. The committee did not contact the Texas Historical Commission, which is mandatory, 60 days out from undertaking any project on a recorded Texas Historic Landmark. You must notify the Texas Historical Commission. That was not done. So that jeopardizes those markers, because what the Historical Commission does is they come in and they say, watch this, no more marker. Marker gets pulled. It's an administrative process. It's not being followed. The other strategy was to pick a building, as we did with Seminole Hall, the Service Club, and Dickman Hall, bring it up to standard, apply for a marker, get the marker, get the historical exemption on property taxes. That's been abandoned. Now we're putting in French drains at the commissary, and we're going back to Seminole Hall for something, when we have at least half a dozen buildings that we should be bringing up to code and putting in markers for. The obvious one is the adult center, which would save probably $1,500 a year in property taxes. But nothing's being done there. So the whole thing needs to be reevaluated as to how they're going about doing what was the original noble intent of the committee has been lost, in my opinion, in my judgment.
There's a motion to table it.
Does anybody know how that new French drain worked during the rain we had?
Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go.
Come on, guys, it's like.
Can you do something, can you say something?
Make a motion to second.
I saw a lot of water up against the building, I thought that was supposed to take.
The drain works, the drain works really well. This rain we had a lot of it, and we had it fast. Obviously, things that were built by, I don't know, surveyors that had the land out right for all the creeks and all the drains, those didn't work because we had a lot of water at one time. When that happens, it's an act of God, we have no control of it. But for the day-to-day raining and a normal rain spell that we have, the thing works great.
Okay, there's still a motion, I'm going to table this and get the information put together and send it back to the committee to revise.
I second it.
Call for the vote to table this for further evaluation. All in favor? Carries unanimously. The next is designating an assistant vice president.
There are 5 of us, and 4 of us have offices and 1 doesn't. But that one is very busy, and I think he represents the board very well. I would like to designate Bill as second vice president.
I will second that motion.
Any discussion?
I don't need an assistant, but if he wants to.
Not an assistant to you.
You have different duties than what I'm suggesting.
Comment out for that.
Yeah.
The action you just took would require a change to the bylaws.
That's right.
The officers are specified in the documents.
Well, then what we need to do then, I guess, is revise it to compare our bylaws to 209 to see what 209 says, because our attorney's opinion is we are subject to that law, and so we'll check there first, and then I guess we'll bring it up at the next meeting.
Table it again.
Vote to table it till we compare it to the bylaws and to 209.
I second it.
Discussion? All in favor? That carries unanimously.
Well, get along, don't we?
The next is appointment of trustee for foreclosure. Can somebody elaborate on what that is?
You wanted to appoint for foreclosures, we need to start going after foreclosures. Brianna, do you want to come back up here? Remember last workshop and last meeting?
Well, I think we should work on foreclosures, but
Right, so it's appointing a trustee to go, so that we can go ahead and go to the next level and go foreclose. Who's gonna show up, what trustee is gonna show up at the courthouse and do the auction?
and, right,
So
what
this
is it?
is, she's gonna elaborate again.
The board's obligation to file and foreclose on assessment lien is mandatory, not discretionary. So we have to be able to foreclose. In the minutes of 2011, Mr. Hahn, from the minutes, it says discussion, consideration, appointment of trustee for foreclosures. Hahn moved to appoint Ron Stewart, Directors of Operation, as trustee to act on behalf of the association as relates to foreclosures. The motion was second and carried with all voting in favor. Patty Burlett stated that the trustee had to be the registered agent for the association. I'm not sure about that, but our registered agent is our Director of Operations, Jody.
So what does the trustee do? What are the job duties of the trustee? What,
Okay, you have to have a trustee on your foreclosure documents. And then you would have to go, we are able to do non-judicial, so that would mean that we would go to the courthouse, and you have to say, the tax office, we haven't done it, so this is gonna be interesting.
that's why
but yeah,
I
so
suggested before
evidently
when we
we
were
need a
talking about
trustee.
foreclosure, one of the things it says we have to do is appoint a trustee.
Mhm.
But I don't know, what are the trustee's duties? What is the trustee responsible for?
Files the documents with the court.
I would say is able to sign for whatever documents are necessary to do during the transaction.
Has to be able to appear at the courthouse during.
Right, and sign over the deed. Like if someone bids, and you guys as a board would decide what that starting bid would be, and say that someone's out there, you go back to the courthouse, say about 4 o'clock, and the trustee, I believe, signs the deed.
So that would essentially nullify that other document we're talking about.
That was a requirement from a title company, and I'll show you the Schedule
Okay,
C
okay.
of that. And basically, it was just trying to save the association $200. It was just every time one goes to a title company.
Okay, so this is basically legal representative for to handle, to sign official documents and so forth, that for.
A lot of times attorneys are also appointed, but attorneys are expensive. So since we're non-judicial and we have a listing agent and a director of operations that's supposed to come every day, it would have to be the first Tuesday of the month. So that person would need to be available and be at the courthouse step.
I'd say we should have a motion to appoint the director of operations as the trustee.
Right. Yes. I make a motion, we appoint the Director of Operations trustee.
I will second that motion.
Any discussion?
Trustee for what? Well, there's all kinds of trustees. That's what she said. That's what the motion should say.
I'll amend to say foreclosures.
Just a sample. So you have Ron Stewart, who Bill Hahn and had elected in 2011.
Make the motion. Yeah,
Does that
read
help?
the motion to
This would say Jody Stevens.
phrase it in the same way. There's no page numbers, it's back there.
All right, I will amend my motion because it was well put in these previous minutes and move to appoint Jody Stevens, Director of Operations, as trustee to act on behalf of the association as relates to foreclosures.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Carries as a unanimous vote. Discussion and approval of Fort-owned properties open to members.
Can you table some of this?
I think we ought to table that because Fort owns a lot of property.
And we just ought to, unless you have some. We got a 2 hour meeting already.
Where all this comes from is the fact that For example, the bridge players could not be assured that they would be able to use the adult center during the summer afternoons to play bridge. And on Saturday, maybe once or twice a year. Plus, there are a lot of younger families here who might like to have birthday parties or something like this during the winter months at the adult center if the pool's closed. So it's a question of what buildings can little groups like this use. And I understand the adult center is now open 6 days a week. All days, all right?
All days only change. It's always been 6 days a week, but now Saturday's extended till 5, so we can see how many people are actually going in for the next 4 weeks.
Right, I think, okay. So then the other item on there was, in the fall, we'll have line dancers back, and they like to use the town hall because it's got a good floor for line dancing. So that also would be included in this proposal. Or do you want to wait till the fall and then let the line dancers request using it at no charge?
Are you talking about the service club?
Post theater.
Post theater, oh, you said town hall, and I was
Yeah, that's what
thrown,
we call it.
sorry.
It doesn't have to be addressed now, they're not having line dancing, but it will come up in the fall, might as well just take care of it now.
That's a rentable building as far as I know.
Well, I would make a motion that we allow the line dancers to use the post theater for line dancing.
May I address the board? I am Paula Diller, and I'm the one that did the line dance last year. As far as the building that we would like to use, we would really like to use the Nat Middleton Activity Center, or more commonly known as the Teen Center. The reason for not post theater is the floor that's been put over the orchestra pit is not a sound place really, and even when we did the play in the spring, we were advised not to dance on that. It's not the sturdiest, and we certainly do not want a line dancer going through the floor. So my preference would be the teen center, as they have done in previous years.
There may be some problem with the teen center in that it was supposed to be restricted for children up to a certain age, which we kind of went around that, and I think we're gonna have to address that issue also.
But I'm willing, I mean, any building that, post theater, we could make that work, that would be, my preference would be, however, the teen center, but I would like, whatever you can do. I've been approached to teach a class in Uvalde, and, if the court does not allow me to have it here, I'll probably go there. And that's too bad, because it's something else we're losing here.
By the way, where did you come from? You're supposed to be gone.
We decided we hadn't seen the fort in June, so we came back for a few days.
Glad you came back.
We have to keep in mind, that we can't make buildings available just for special groups. If we're going to make them available, then they're gonna have to be available for everybody.
And remember, all the members are supposed to be entitled to use things like that too, in our bylaws.
It's good, good answer.
Tyler?
Yes, when I first moved here, Mrs. Mary Partlow, your mother-in-law, was giving the aerobics classes right there. She was directing aerobics. And we did it for years at the teen center. And I don't know why we can't use it. We never use the air conditioning. We always open the windows. It's better. You can sweat.
Is that concrete floor?
It used to be carpet, and we used to have to lift our feet, when we jumped. But now it is a smooth floor.
I make a motion, we table this till we find out what buildings are involved in all this.
All buildings.
you know, some of our buildings generate income, and they generate a lot of income. And we do have to consider that. We are low on funds as it is, so some of these buildings are, you know, just not, we need to think twice about whether we want them open for just anybody to use them. There are a lot of buildings. The adult center is a beautiful facility. If we do not have the current funds for the teen center to turn it into a gym, then in the meantime, maybe that should be available. There's the club room at the golf course, there's the RV park. There are lots of venues here that are free to members. All they have to do is just make sure that it's first come, first served, and there's no one else in there. But all buildings have hours of operation, and that's for security reasons, protection of property, and so forth. So we need to decide which buildings we're specifically talking about here.
Line dancers don't need security or babysitters. They're quite capable of going in, doing their line dancing and locking up their leave, and have security just come by and lock it.
Handing keys
All
out.
buildings should be available for small groups like that. Now, if, for example, you've got the Buffalo Soldiers there on Monday night, line dancers would have to give up their line dancing that particular week or whatever. But they should be able to go, say, like on Monday nights, that's what they were requesting.
I don't think that it's good to have keys. In the past,
Security cabinet keys.
in the past, we issued keys, and I know for a fact that they were copied by people and spread out around the fort. That happened at the golf course without authorization from the fort. Keys were lost. I know that they were lost in aerobics class because I helped the lady who was given the key find it. She lost it, and we had to report that to the fort. Keys aren't the issue. And when I was talking about security, I was talking about security of the members. If you leave a building open, say for instance the adult center, you chose to leave it open until 24 hours a day, you have a security risk. It gets out quickly that a building is open, and we have uninvited guests on the fort that could use that at night or off hours when it was unlocked. I wouldn't want to be in the gym using the treadmill and have some person come in there and assault me because there's nobody around. So that's kind of security I'm talking about, not just our property damage.
Yeah, we don't need to leave buildings open all the time.
No, we do not.
If somebody's gonna use it secure, and nobody needs to have a key except for security, they can open it, see what condition it is, and when they come back, see what condition it is. So they would open and close the building. Yes, ma'am?
I have never spoken before, but I have to open my mouth. We're talking, let's use some common sense. We're talking 12 old ladies that would like to use the adult center 2 or 3 afternoons a year, period. We've done it in October, we've done it in January, no problems. Security opens the door, security locks the door. We're there for 4 hours. One of our ladies is 92 years old. God, we just want to use our facility 3 times a year, maybe.
Okay, all I'm saying is that it has to be the same for all members. So if others want to use it too.
Use it
That's
for all
my point.
members, that's what it's for.
That's what my point
Absolutely.
is.
And if we call and make arrangements and there's something else going on there, we'll change our plans. Period. You know, my assessments are saying year round. I don't get this. This is unbelievable.
Y'all make things, fairly simple things, pretty damn complicated. It's really damn complicated. Everybody's talking about using some of these buildings is organized group, be it aerobics, be it line dancing, be it bridge. It's not just 2 folks just deciding, hey, we just want to go up there and sit there. It's an organized group using this. Not individuals, it's an organized group. And all these damn buildings really are paid for by the members. They're supported by the members. They should be able to use them for these things that are called recreation. That's what
Right, we should have some sort of a calendar of events scheduled, and if the buildings are not being used by a scheduled event that's paying, then I think the members should be able to use it if it's some sort of group. Whether it's a birthday party or whatever it is.
We don't keep the air conditioning going all the time, do we?
I hope not.
Well, I mean, it costs money, and each, these types of things, I understand, and I'm for it, because I think that these places, but I think that we ought to identify some things. For instance, bridge players can't use the green room because it involves card tables and they can't take them down there and so forth and so on. It's just 92-year-old ladies don't carry very many chairs and tables. My point is, I agree, but I think we should let certain things go, and when it comes to a particular problem, let's solve that problem. I don't think we have to hold it open for everybody. I'm just not in favor of a policy that is blanket, because then you get into troubles there. So I think this is something I would like to discuss more, and I realize that the adult center now has been held open for this month, so we have no problem at this point. But we need to talk about this, about why certain things can't be done in certain places, even though that would be a better place to do it. And I really would like to stop talking. 3-hour meeting is a long meeting, and it's getting longer, and I know everybody here is getting tired. I sure am. I'd like to table this, I really would, and I think somebody made that motion.
Did we ever get a second?
I'll second it.
I thought you made the motion.
Did somebody different make the motion, and Sandy made the motion or not?
Well, I made a motion to table this until we find out what owned properties he's talking about.
He's talking about, you could go, you could say the restaurant, you could say the motel, right, so that's what I'm saying, we need to table it until we find out.
Then I will second that.
Any further discussion?
Probably doesn't specifically have anything to do with this right here, but it has to do with this whole meeting. I think what you need to do is a proposal that the board is more well informed on all these things. You should have your board packets a good week before this meeting. Have time to get your questions answered, and just general meeting, just suggestions, like when someone makes a request to the DO for, like Martha wanting the park area, she made that request in February. Actually, she made it in July of last year. That should be part of the DO's report, even though she didn't ask the board for this because she was not aware that she needed to. That should be part of the DO's report. Also, all the things we have discussed should be part of, the board should be informed well before this meeting. And all your questions, like who are you going to vote for a certain committee, you should already know who that person is. Your packets are incomplete and you need to discuss that.
Yeah, the board needs to get their agenda together earlier in the month, early before the meeting, and we need more discovery items in there so that we do have a chance to.
We also have several items that have backup, but some of us have not apparently had time to read them. But yes, if we got ourselves together before, it would be helpful.
We need a shorter agenda also. We need to be more focused as far as our agenda items, and we do agree with that.
It seems those will get shorter and shorter as we eliminate some of this items and concerns from our members.
We need to vote. We're going to table that item.
For a vote on tabling this for further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? 4 for, and 1 against. Now we have a discussion, the statement of authority to transfer real property.
You put that, you had made this agenda, so there's a duplicate.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Now we have our member discussion period.
That's a big deal.
Miss Renee Ford.
Okay, this person is not here. We have invited, just for your edification, we have invited Winter Texans, people who aren't on the fort at the day of a meeting, to send us emails, mail us letters, so that they can participate in these 15-minute member discussions. Because they're being obviously left out because